Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Typing Tuesday here at Washington Middle School. Did any of you take a 3-minute test during the week? If so, how did you do? Who can type the fastest in your wolf den? Hopefully, each week you can get a faster score than the previous week, so keep practicing. Have you ever thought about what job or career you might want to have when you finish school? Maybe you have an idea, or maybe not. It doesn't matter at this time. However, chances are that most jobs or careers will involve using a keyboard to perform your work. It might be a nurse or doctor entering information about a patient to a construction worker who has to type up job reports. So no matter the job, it is important to have good typing skills. In a moment, you will see a short video to explain why typing skills are important. You can get a big head start with your typing skills while here in middle school. Practice and get faster now, because it will only help you even more in the future. That is all for today. Stay tuned for a message from the Anime Club, followed by This Week in History. See you all next week.
Many careers require basic typing skills, so it's useful to develop your ability to type regardless of your career path. Hello, everyone. For today's video, here are a few reasons why being able to type is important and beneficial to your career. Number 1. Typing aids in communication. It can be easier to email and draft other forms of communication when you can type well. Practicing your skill so that you can type with more speed and accuracy helps you become more productive and complete these communication tasks quickly. Some job roles may require long correspondence through letters, speeches, presentations, or blogs, in which case your accuracy when typing is equally important to avoid miscommunication. When you're proficient in your typing skills, you can focus more on your message. This can help you become a more effective communicator. Number 2. Typing enhances your resume. You can add your typing skills to your resume as part of your technical skill set. If you're seeking an administrative or creative role, adding typing skills may be especially helpful since typing may be a more significant part of those roles. Including typing skills also may show hiring managers your commitment to developing all your skills. Number 3. Typing increases productivity. Having the ability to type fast with accuracy can aid in a variety of tasks, such as researching, creating presentations, developing resource guides, inputting data, sharing ideas. Improving your typing skills can help you become more efficient when performing any job duties that require the use of a keyboard, meaning you can complete tasks and move on to new ones. That's it for today, and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe button for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.
Hello, I'm Mr. Simonton, along with Mr. Vallier, host of the Washington Middle School Anime Club, letting you know what we're going to be showing on Wednesday. Tomorrow we're going to be showing a presentation of Demon Slayer. In this episode, Tanjiro finds the strength to slay a demon with help from those closest to him, his family, both here and now, and those that have gone before. It's kind of an exciting episode that shows the value of family. But there's also something special happening, is that we're going to be holding a raffle for Tanjiro himself. So come to the Anime Club meeting tomorrow for a chance to win a 1/7 scale figure of Tanjiro Kamado. One condition, though, is that we have to have at least 10 students in attendance, or we won't be doing the raffle. So just keep that in mind. So hope we see you tomorrow. This is Mr. Simonton signing off. Thank you very much. Hello and welcome, that's what I meant to say, to another presentation of This Week in History. I'm your host, Mr. Simonton, 8th grade history teacher here at Washington Middle School. Well, our first event is kind of a dramatic one. It's probably the closest that our planet has come to human-made universal destruction in entire human history. October 22nd, 1962, President John F. Kennedy appeared on television to inform Americans of the existence of Russian ballistic missiles in Cuba. The president demanded their removal and announced a naval quarantine. Actually, we're going to call it a blockade, but they decided that that sounded too adversarial, so they used the term quarantine instead of Cuba. 6 days later, the Russians announced they would remove the weapons. In return, the U.S. later, very secretly, removed missiles from Turkey. So that was part of the agreement. We get the Russians to publicly remove their missiles, but the U.S., in agreement with Russia, secretly will remove ours. We just won't tell the rest of the world. So it kind of looks like we saved face, but the Russians didn't. But each side got what they wanted. And so here is the presidential address by President Kennedy.
The President of the United States.
Good evening, my fellow citizens. This government, as promised, has maintained the closest surveillance of the Soviet military buildup on the island of Cuba. Within the past week, unmistakable evidence has established the fact that a series of offensive missile sites is now in preparation on that imprisoned island. The purpose of these bases can be none other than to provide a nuclear strike capability against the Western Hemisphere. It shall be the policy of this nation to regard any nuclear missile launched from Cuba against any nation in the Western Hemisphere as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States, requiring a full retaliatory response upon the Soviet Union. My fellow citizens, let no one doubt that this is a difficult and dangerous effort on which we have set out. No one can foresee precisely what course it will take, or what costs or casualties will be incurred. Many months of sacrifice and self-discipline lie ahead, months in which both our patience and our will be tested, months in which many threats and denunciations will keep us aware of our dangers. But the greatest danger of all would be to do nothing. The path we have chosen for the present is full of hazards, as all paths are. But it is the one most consistent with our character and courage as a nation and our commitments around the world. The cost of freedom is always high, but Americans have always paid it. And one path we shall never choose, and that is the path of surrender or submission. Our goal is not the victory of might, but the vindication of right. Not peace at the expense of freedom, but both peace and freedom here in this hemisphere, and we hope around the world. God willing, that goal will be achieved. Thank you, and good night.
To give you some idea how bad things actually were and how it affected people here in the United States, this is probably my first memory. I was 3 years old at this time. And my father took me in a car a little bit north of where we lived. And there was an industrial complex that was already built there. There was no buildings or anything, but all the roads were put in. I remember my father telling me, okay, just stay in the car, I'm going to go for a little walk. And, 3 years old, what do I know anything? And I just saw him walking down the middle of the street, so I didn't think anything of it. And then I heard a cat outside the car, so of course I opened the door and started playing with the cat. Well, about 5 minutes later, at 10 minutes, I don't know how long it was, I hear a loud bang behind the car. And of course it startles me, and I get up and I look around, and there's my father getting up from the middle of the street, and realized that there was some dark disc in front of him. I didn't understand what it was. Many, many, many years later, for whatever reason, that scene popped into my head, and I asked my father about it, and he remembered it. And I go, Dad, what were you doing there all those years ago? And he says, well, there's a manhole cover right in front of our house. And so obviously I couldn't check because it's an active street, so I went up here to this industrial complex to see what it was like. Just in case the missiles came, I wanted to have a safe place to take my family. And so if the missiles were coming, we were going to go to hide in the sewer. So it just tells you what people were thinking back then and how real this danger actually was.
The President of the...
All right. This is what this is supposed to prevent. October 24th, 1945, the United Nations is founded, originally in San Francisco, later moves to New York, where it is currently located. Currently made up of 193 member states, the United Nations remains the one place on earth where all the world's nations can gather together, discuss common problems, and find shared solutions, although that tends to be difficult. Everybody has their own wants and needs that benefit all humanity. If you look at the image here, well, actually, this is the General Assembly here where all the nations get together to meet. This here is the Security Council, and it's up to these 15 members to make decisions that are going to affect world policy, whether they engage in a military conflict, whether they engage in trade embargoes, and as such. There are 15 members. There are 5 permanent members, and they happen to be the victorious nations at the end of World War II. China, Russia, the United States, Great Britain, and France. Now, these are permanent members. They have been there since 1945, and they're not going away anytime soon. But what happens, you see there are other member states. So 5 of the 10 or the 15 slots are filled, so that means 10 are open. And what they do is that each group of nations, African states, Asian Pacific states, Eastern European, Latin American, Caribbean states, and also other European states, they take turns. They serve for a period of 2 years, and at the end of the 2 years, somebody else gets voted in from that region. And they're changed every other year. So, say maybe the Netherlands comes in representing Europe. They have 2 years, and then they're out. But then somebody else comes in the year after that. So they trade every 2 years. And this is something that's been very kind of difficult because in the Security Council, one veto or one negative vote means whatever resolution they had gets scrapped. So, of course, you try to have these resolutions against currently Russia invading Ukraine, and of course Russia is going to vote them down. So it's not a perfect system, but it's better than what we had before, which led us to 2 world wars. October 25th, 1854, speaking of war, much older one, during the Crimean War, which takes place in the area around Ukraine. It's kind of pertinent and kind of current. The charge of the Light Brigade occurred as Lord Cardigan led the British cavalry, those infantrymen on horseback, against the Russians at a place called Balaclava. Of the 673 British cavalrymen taking place, 272 were killed. The charge was later immortalized, that means to be remembered for all time, in a poem by Alfred Lord Tennyson. I'd like to read the last stanza here. For the Light Brigade, was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew. Some had blundered, theirs not to make reply, theirs not to reason why, theirs but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. So that one phrase, ours is not to reason why, ours is but to do or die. When you have kind of an impossible situation, but you still are responsible for doing your duty, that phrase gets used quite a bit. October 26, 1825, the Erie Canal opens as the first major man-made waterway in America, linking Lake Erie with the Hudson River. The canal cost over $7 million in money back in 1825, so I can only imagine hundreds of millions today, and took 8 years to complete. And what it allowed to do is allowed citizens of the United States in the central part of the United States, like Ohio, Indiana, eastern Pennsylvania, or western Pennsylvania here, to be able to move their goods easily to the Atlantic Ocean, which is here. Now, they would have liked to use Lake Ontario and use the St. Lawrence Seaway, but there's a problem right here, and it's a big one. It's called Niagara Falls. So, yeah, definitely don't want to sail over that. So, building the Erie Canal was the way to go that got them to the Hudson River, and the Hudson River, fortunately, flows south into the Atlantic Ocean in New York City. Another part of the reason why New York City has become the largest city in the United States. October 27, 1787, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago with the Constitution. The first of 85 Federalist Papers appeared in print in a New York City newspaper. The essays argued for the adoption of the U.S. Constitution, so they preferred a strong national government. They were written by Alexander Hamilton, he wrote the most, James Madison, and John Jay. And so you can see here, this is kind of the first entry into the newspaper about what was going to happen. And here they're talking about the Constitution that was adopted on September 17th, 1787, which we just talked about like almost a month ago. October 28th, 1886, the Statue of Liberty was dedicated on Bedloes Island in New York Harbor, where it still stands today. The statue was a gift from the people of France commemorating the French-American alliance during the American Revolutionary War, and France was definitely very helpful in us defeating the British. Designed by Frederick Auguste Bartholdi, the entire structure stands about 300 feet tall, and you can visit it today. I don't believe that you can go up and visit the torch anymore. They've suffered some damage along the arms, so I believe you can't do that. But you can still go up and visit Lady Liberty's crown. And so you can get some idea just how large this is by the comparison of the people here and also here. Notable birthdays. October 22nd. Franz Liszt, the Hungarian composer, was born in Rating, Hungary. He was a brilliant pianist, best known for his Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2, which we're going to listen to momentarily, his Liebestraum No. 3, and his Faust and Dante symphonies. The artist Pablo Picasso was born on the 25th of October in Malaga, Spain. He was an experimental painter, and he also became a fine sculptor, engraver, and ceramist, so definitely very artistically talented. October 27th, the British navigator James Cook was born in Yorkshire, England. He explored New Zealand, Australia, and the Hawaiian Islands. And it was kind of unfortunate. We think of Hawaiian Islands as a vacation destination, but regrettably, Captain Cook got into a conflict with the Native Americans there, and it cost him his life. Other notable birthdays. I love this smile. This guy's just full of life. The 27th of October, President Theodore Roosevelt, our 26th president, was born in New York City. He succeeded to the presidency following, regrettably, a tragic moment in American history, the assassination of President William McKinley. Roosevelt served from September 14, 1901 to March 3, 1909, and he's best remembered for stating, "Speak softly, but carry a big stick." Dr. Jonas Salk. Finally, we get some physicians here. 20th of October. He was born in New York City, just like Theodore Roosevelt. In 1952, he developed a vaccine for the dreaded childhood disease polio, something that definitely could have helped Theodore Roosevelt's cousin, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. His vaccine reduced deaths from polio in the United States by 95%. Talk about an important discovery for not just the United States, but also humankind. Got to hand it to Dr. Jonas Salk. Finally, 20th of October, Microsoft founder Bill Gates. You either love him or hate him, especially if you're a Mac user. He was born in Seattle, Washington. He co-founded Microsoft with Paul Allen, designing software for IBM computers, which is what I use. By 1980, Microsoft became the leading software company for the IBM-compatible computers, better known as simply PCs. Gates became a billionaire by the age of 31. Boy, what am I doing? I'm way behind the ball. And he remains one of the world's wealthiest individuals. I believe that he is 5th wealthiest person in the world. You got Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk are up there as well. All right, so that concludes this week's presentation for This Week in History. I'm your host, Mr. Simonton. But I'm going to send you off with a musical send-off and promoting from Warner Brothers and Bugs Bunny, Franz Liszt Hungarian Rhapsody No. 2. Hope you enjoy it. I think it's only appropriate that we have a very famous pig send us off. Porky, where'd you go?
That's all, folks.
So long, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.